Good morning to you back on this Thursday. Today is the 8th day of January. So we're running downhill into January now. Doesn't feel like it all the time. It's supposed to be up in the 60s today. Okay. So winter went on a vacation. If you like winter, good news is they're coming back. If you don't like winter, I'm sorry. But understand that's kind of how it is now. What we're trying to do is avoid those high utility bills, no doubt about that. But anyway, good morning to you. We're going to have an open mic today, talk about a number of things. There's a lot of stuff going on. We could talk about some national things if you want to. I'd rather talk about some of this local stuff. There's a lot going on with the schools here. Particularly, we have people that are running for office, and Jay Reinstein, he's interviewing a lot of those, so you're going to hear those replay at a different time. But real excited about that. That's just a part of what we are about at this station here. WIDU 1600 AM 99.7, a place where hopefully you can come and you can hear directly from candidates and understand and know what they are about and be able to make an informed decision. And understand, my position is this, that we are going to have to learn how to accept other people's position and not be angry about it, no matter whom they choose to vote for. If they choose to vote for somebody, then that's that. Let's not all get angry and call them names because they choose to support a particular candidate. That's not what it's about. The political discourse from the municipal level, that is in all the little townships to include, Spring Lake, Hope Mills, and the smaller townships, to the city of Fayetteville. We need, I think, a political discourse that is not void of people having the kind of relationships where that they can talk to each other in a respectful way. When we choose not to do that, that's what hurts us. Because people leave the table feeling battered, bitter, and then when we try to move forth, it's more difficult to make that happen. So we just don't need to do that. And again, the phone line is going to be open for you to give us a call. Let me see here. It went to the extension there, Reverend Carl. Reverend Carl Brinkley is back here with us, and he is our producer on today. And you say, it didn't come through. Okay, all right. But he said he hit extension 233. So I don't know. I'm gonna ask him to call back. Let's see. Okay. But anyway, though, we're waiting for a caller to call in. So I'm trying to get a little more understanding of what they had regarding on the city council meeting on Monday night with this whole thing about the rules for people to protest. And of course, I think there needs to be clear rules. It's alleged that the lady that was killed by ICE, she was in some type of protest. Right, excuse me. Okay, right. But anyway, though, so, that's part of the problem too. It's we just need to deal with that. How are we going to peacefully protest? And people throwing things. That's not. Look, that's a violent act. It is. I'm not talking about there. I'm talking about here. I'm talking about anywhere. People trying to throw things and injure law enforcement. All those things are just not that's just not a good situation. We don't need to have that. That's not a good situation where people are throwing objects at police officers and stuff like that. Look, they have a job to do too. And peaceful protest means just that. Now understand, for those of you all that are old enough, and you can look at the History Channel, when people like Dr. King, and we're approaching his birthday, his official birthday is January 15th, but it's always celebrated or recognized on the third Monday. And so that's going to, if you look at what he did, they never did that. They just marched, sang, sat, whatever. People want throwing objects at people and things like that. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't call that a peaceful protest. That's not a peaceful protest. If you're throwing a brick, trying to bust out a window, burn something down, that is not a peaceful protest. That's a violent protest. So, and that's the challenge that we have with that. And so that's what we're going to have to do. So now, there was a discussion at City Hall on Monday night. Good morning, Dia. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Troy. Good morning.
Yeah. So Dia, there was a discussion at City Hall on Monday night about the whole protest issue, and I think they've tabled it, and they want to come back to put it in a work session or whatever. Or I think it was recommended by one council person to have a public forum on it as to how we're going to allow people to protest, traffic management, officer training and de-escalation, coordination with demonstration organizers. You know, you've been in law enforcement recently. I don't know. I never done a lot of that. I've been involved in two things. When I was with the sheriff's office, and I was in the military, we did the stomp and drag stuff. But I think that it's probably a good idea for Fayetteville to move forth with some rules as to how we're going to engage protesters. What do you think?
Well, City Council, I think it's a good idea what the City Council is doing, but as long as the City Council understands, they have good legal advisors down there, a good team, coordinate with their legal representatives, and then, just make sure their legal representatives contact Institute of Government if needed, because protesting is your fundamental right. But what you want to do is make sure that the folks who are peaceful protesting want to make sure their rights are violated. And, in certain protests, depending on the amount of people out there, there's going to be a police presence, because sometimes dealing with protests, you have people that are supporting the cause, and then you have that crowd that's not supporting that cause, and then law enforcement is there to keep the peace. And they want to do it. They don't, it'd be nice if law enforcement could go to a protest and just observe. Everybody stayed on their side, but sometimes they have to intervene, and that's what you don't want. And you want them to intervene when necessary. You don't want them to intervene if it's not required. And because you want everybody to be safe, including law enforcement.
Yeah, well, see, like up in Durham County, they do a lot. They block the street. Now, I mean, honestly, I have a problem with that, because somebody's trying to get to a job, go pick up their kid. It could be they could be trying to get to anything, a doctor's appointment, anything. And for people to, we're going to protest and we're going to just block a public street, which technically is impeding traffic, which is that's a violation traffic-wise. I have a problem with that.
Well, then now you're talking about, okay, so you're going to block a public street and you think that cause is worthy for it, be able to deal with the repercussions. Because here's what I try to tell folks, what I don't like to see is when law enforcement come put their hands on you, they really ain't got to give, they can give you, most law enforcement officers going to give you that one warning. After that, they're not going to sit there and debate with you. I always a firm believer, if a law enforcement officer, as a police officer, I was taught before I made supervisor, if you have to put hands on a person, go ahead. Either you take him downtown or you might want to cite him and release him, because if you don't, they're going to come back and complain to you. Why he put his hands on me? Well, he's probably trying to cut him or break it. It comes back to bite you in the behind. So, and when law enforcement starts doing their function, what I don't like to see is somebody who's not law enforcement who think they're going to be a peacemaker. No, you don't get in there and try to diffuse like it's two rights. I mean, it's two people. I need to calm down. No, if the law enforcement officer is carrying out his legal duties, don't get involved. That's where some folks make big mistakes, is getting involved trying to calm the law enforcement officer down. You got video. If that law enforcement officer is doing wrong, just record it, because you're not going to win on the street. So I don't believe in blocking because, like you said, we have people going to school, picking up kids. It's a lot going on in somebody's life, and you just added to that stress by holding them up. Could have a car. Hey, worst case scenario, you could have a car that's about to overheat, and you trying to get from point A to point B. Somebody got you stalled, gonna blow a head gasket. Well, that might sound funny, but it is. Life is. People have a lot going on, and nobody wants to be unnecessarily delayed.
Yeah, I think that they are strategic in where they want to block, because, you get blocked on a bridge or whatever, all lanes coming and going, then, unless you have a helicopter, you can't get out of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the challenge, and that's the problem area. But you see now we're talking about de-escalation practices by the police, which I'm not opposed to that. But let's back up 50, 60 years ago. The protesters were taught how to de-escalate themselves too. But you see, you have people running out now. There's no training. They just, I guess they're not watching YouTube or anything else as to how to protest. They're just running out and they're deciding, I'm going to protest, when before Dr. King and others took protesters through some training. And I believe that is one of the major components that's missing, that adds to the dynamics of causing things to go left. I mean, go left meaning, problems to happen.
Yeah. But, I believe in peaceful protest. Get out there, carry your signs, do what you need to do. Just don't violate the law. And if you want to go to jail, when they put hands on you, just don't resist and go to jail. And for those out there, if you want to be a witness, stay back. When they tell you to get back, just get back, because law enforcement officers, you're not going to see a lot of law enforcement officers charged with excessive force when they're trying to make arrests or de-escalate these situations. You're just not going to see it.
Like I said, and in particular, if you're going to be throwing things at the officers, you can't do that. Look, I'm not going to be down with that, because, there's been instances where officers were injured. And you don't know who threw what. Somebody threw a brick. It was just a whole crowd. And so what happens is this one case that went before the Supreme Court, maybe it was an appeals court. I forget exactly how far it went up. But they charged the person that was the leader of the protest. Because somebody has to be responsible. You throw something, you hit an officer in the head, in the eye, whatever, person is injured. Somebody has to be responsible, You can't necessarily see who did it, but I know there's some feelings about whether or not a single person should be held responsible in those kind of instances. But I don't have a problem with that. If you're going to call for a protest and you are the leader, I believe there has to be culpability with someone.
Yeah. I can agree with that, because we've had some famous riots in the last 5 years. But real quickly, though, when it comes to police officers, I'm not going to deep dive into what happened in Minnesota. The only thing that I know for a fact is that the police officers, these local agencies where ICE and Customs go to, whether you don't agree with it or not, that's irrelevant for me. They're coming because they can enforce federal laws. What has to happen is that those folks on the ground, Minneapolis residents, why are you fighting Minneapolis police? They're not going they're there to keep the peace. If a federal agent goes to put hands on you, they're not going to intervene. They have their body cams on, and for you to direct your ire at them, and now these Minneapolis police departments are caught in the middle. The police chief said they work in 7 days straight. There's no way that I would work 7 days straight in law enforcement, working 10 to 12-hour strips. It adds to stress, and police officers have families and kids they got to pick up and got to find people to watch them, and then go to work to get abused. Nah, it's no. So ICE is going to be here, and I'm hoping, I don't care what state you're from, you have to make sure that you're protecting your police officers and your citizens. You tell them, protest, but get with ICE and say, hey, if I'm a police chief and I'm a police mayor of a blue city, okay, ICE, I need to know what's acceptable as far as these protesting zones when you guys are out doing your work. Well, they don't have, ICE, well, really you don't want to be around them because their work could be anywhere if they see somebody and they're going to run up to them. So I would just say if you're dealing with ICE right now, it's best to just stay away and just observe from a safe distance because I don't like what happened yesterday, but I don't want to deep dive to all the – I know what my eyes saw, but I just don't want to talk about it right now. But I believe in peaceful protest. But end of the day, do not block streets and businesses because it's unsafe, and a law enforcement officer have to take action.
They do, and I think that, again, I just believe that, and also because there's some people very passionate about how they feel about the illegal people that are here illegally. There's a federal judge that she was indicted, and her career is ended because she tried to assist a person in their evading the arrest, if you will, by ICE. And there are people out there that feel passionate enough about that they didn't want to do that, but understand she was a judge, and they got her. I would say that, you're not going to change that. I think you're going a little bit too far, when you get out there on that kind of thing. What you need to do is leave that alone. Individuals are not going to be able to intervene with that. That's something that has to be taken care of in the courtroom. You're not going to win that fight on the sidewalk. It's not going to happen.
I agree with you on that. Are we up against the break, Floyd?
Yeah, we're about 3 minutes out for a break, but we can go and take one now if you want to, and we'll come back.
You touched on immigration, and I want to touch on Representative Carla Cunningham out of Charlotte.
That's quite interesting, right?
Because Josh Stein he did a Roy Cooper, and I definitely want to talk about that when we come back to the break.
Okay, well, look, we're going to take a break inside of the morning show, 1600 AM 99.7. Telephonically, we're on with DL this morning. You're certainly welcome to call in as well. The number is 910-483-6111. We'll be back for more following this.
Get in shape, gain knowledge, eat better, clean out the garage. Well, all good resolutions, very ambitious and somewhat attainable. At PwC, we have a pretty simple approach to this year's resolutions. Keep doing what we do with excellence. Our community and our customers are the most important thing to us. Providing award-winning service is our goal every year. It's also nice to reflect, be recognized for our efforts, and celebrate recent achievements, like the Public Power Award of Excellence, Gold Award for Exceptional Utility Performance by the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies, Partnership for Safe Water 25-Year Directors Award, just to name a few. Thank you for trusting your public power utility. We're committed to innovation, reliability, and you. Here's to another year of Fayetteville PwC, moving our community forward. Cheers.
Republican North Carolina U.S. Senator Tom Tillis criticized suggestions by White House advisor Stephen Miller to take control of Greenland. 2 people are dead in Salt Lake City, Utah, and 6 others are hurt after a shooting outside a Mormon meeting house. Flu cases are rising across North Carolina. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and Buncombe County Health and Human Services have announced that 3 siblings in Buncombe County contracted measles after visiting Spartanburg, South Carolina. Southeast Alaska authorities have issued a joint emergency disaster declaration due to record snowfall. New guidelines for healthy eating say Americans should eat more whole foods, protein, fewer highly processed foods, and less added sugar. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. At about 3 a.m. on January 7th, officers with Fayetteville Police went out to the intersection of Gillespie Street and West Mountain Drive on a report of a pedestrian being hit by a vehicle. Officers and emergency personnel located the pedestrian in the roadway, and they were pronounced deceased. The Fayetteville Police Department's traffic unit went to the scene and assumed the investigation. The preliminary investigation revealed the pedestrian, identified as 41-year-old Hillary Jarman of Fayetteville, was illegally in the roadway when hit by a 2001 Dodge Durango. The driver of the Durango stopped, called 911, and is cooperating with the investigation. Charges are not forthcoming. Cumberland County says before you toss that old tech, bring it to the community e-waste drive for safe recycling. Printers, laptops, TVs, game systems, cell phones, and more are accepted. They'll see you this Saturday, January 10th, 8 until 11 a.m. at the Ann Street landfill. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Good Thursday morning. We start your day with partly cloudy skies and temperatures chillier in the low to mid 40s. By this afternoon, we'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies. Highs will reach the mid 60s. Then overnight tonight into Friday morning, we'll see increased cloud cover with temperatures dropping to the 40s and 50s to start the day on Friday. Then on Friday, a few isolated showers are possible late in the day. Otherwise, increased clouds. Highs warmer in the low 70s. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Grant Skinner in the Weather Center.
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. See, retirement is the long game. We gotta make moves and make them early. Set up goals. Don't worry about a setback. Just save up and stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things.
Start building your retirement plan at thisispretirement.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Did you know Medicare fraud is costing us $68 billion a year? The NC Department of Insurance Senior Medical Patrol Program's goal is to reduce Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. If you suspect any billing or Medicare fraud issues, we're here to help. Contact SMP today at ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
If you can no longer work because of illness or injury, you should be collecting Social Security disability insurance benefits. Call Brent Adams now for a free consultation. Don't give up just because you've been turned down. Brent Adams has helped thousands collect full disability benefits, even after they've been turned down. Call now, 910-888-8888. Don't hesitate. Call 8. At Brent Adams & Associates, we make things right.
If you are on Medicare, scammers may target you to steal your identity. Remember, Medicare will never call you asking for personal details. The NC Department of Insurance Senior Medicare Patrol Program is here to protect you from fraud and provides you with knowledge to stay safe. Contact SMP today at ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
Pastor Earl and Denise Goings and the Faith Tabernacle family invite you to join us for Sweetheart Retreat 2026, a romantic getaway for married couples only, February 13th through the 15th. This retreat takes place in the metropolitan city of Portsmouth, Virginia. Your package will include a group motor coach transportation, breakfast for 2 Friday morning, 2-night stay at the luxurious Renaissance Hotel on the riverfront downtown, dinner for 2 on Friday night, reservations for you and your spouse to attend Sweetheart Ball 2026. 2026. A special evening of fellowship specifically designed for this retreat, and several positive, enriching marriage seminars conducted by Pastor Earl and Denise Goings. You'll have time for personal fellowship, shopping, and sightseeing. If you're looking for an opportunity to spend quality time with your spouse, this retreat is for you. For more info and a detailed brochure, call 910-865-5252 or visit our website at ftccenter.org. Space is limited, so act now. Call 910-865-5252.
The morning show, we have DL telephonically. DL, I know you want to talk about that, but are you familiar with, before we get off the air today, are you familiar with what's going on in Durham with that young man that killed that lady?
No, you got to bring me up to speed.
Okay. Well, you know, we'll talk about that. But I'm saying is that now it's another one of these mental health cases thing. But look, this guy's been arrested, man. I can't tell you how many times he's been arrested. Breaking in people's houses, stalking people, and everything else. And now, you know, he's accused of killing someone. I think they have pretty strong evidence of that. But we're going to have to do something with these mental health situation here. You know what I mean? When these people come to court and they're in front of folk and they're allowed to walk out of the courtroom because this guy, you know, it's not good. It's not good. But anyway, we'll talk about that. But we're going to the piece that you want to discuss now.
No, but here's the thing I want to talk about, that we can talk about it because it doesn't matter. I'll take your word when you say he's been arrested multiple times, because if you just told me that a person, no matter what county or city in North Carolina, has been arrested multiple times, and he has mental health issues, and I don't care if he has mental health issues or that he's just doing it because he's bad. What we have in place, we have too many tools in place. Remember what MAD was created about, Mothers Against Drunk Driving? They have monitors. If a local magistrate, they call them judges. I don't like the fact they call them judges because they're really not judges. But if local magistrates, district court judges, because most felony arrests go to district court judges for bond hearings first before they make it to Superior Court. If any judge, DA, we have the capability of looking at every arrest each night. And so if that magistrate in Durham County doesn't give a high bond, we should have the Superior Court judge, a district court judge. We should have somebody from the state monitor it and say, hey, you let this person out, signed his own stuff out last night. You need to reverse that, order for arrest, and go pick them up. So I'm going to hold my state lawmakers responsible for this, and I'm going to hold that, what you call them, resident Superior Court judge or senior Superior Court judge. You got to start holding folks responsible, because when Eve Carson got killed in UNC, that was back in 2008, by the two kids from Durham, because the probation officer wasn't doing her job. Because when these folks get arrested, Troy, probation officer come in at work, or the next day they get an alert saying your client is violated, go pick them up. She didn't do her job, because Eve Carson should not have been murdered in Orange County. So we did NC Aware, that way we can see, a law enforcement officer can see all the charges and pending warrants throughout North Carolina. We just have lazy people who won't do their jobs, Troy. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, well, you know, again, I just sent that to you. The guy was named Ryan Camacho. But look, he had been breaking in people's homes, I mean, multiple times. He just breaking in there. I guess if he broke in during the day, it'd be a B&E. If he broke in after dark, it'd have been a burglary, which has been a stronger felony. But still, I mean, multiple times. And then he stalked this one guy. They had him on the news. He said he moved at least twice because this guy was stalking him and his family.
And what hurts this now, Troy, because say that person, there's going to be somebody out there that gets charged, because let's face it, we have some knucklehead law enforcement officers that can go lie before a magistrate and get a warrant on somebody and then want to drop the charges 3 weeks later on a felony. But my point is, we're going to get somebody out there who's never had any issues with the criminal justice system, get a cash bond and can't afford to get out. Cash bonds are good for those people who continually get in trouble, high cash bonds. But you don't want to put somebody who just got their first charge and, they ain't been convicted. Now you didn't give these people a cash bond. So all the strides that some of these organizations have made to get bail reasonable for folks are just going out the window. That's the bad part about all this. Right.
You're right. Well, and just to segue into what you want to talk about, I think that Representative Cunningham, and matter of fact, she's been on the air with us before. I forgot how long ago it was, but Governor Stein is endorsing someone against her in the primary, which typically that used to not happen. But he's saying that because she made some statements regarding illegal immigrants. I don't know exactly what she's supposed to have said.
I'll give it to you in a second. So folks, Miss Carla Cunningham, she's 7 terms in the House, and she's out of District 106, which covers Mecklenburg County. So this is an excerpt from her speech. She said, all cultures are not equal. I don't know what she meant by that. She said, some immigrants come in, believe they can function in isolation, refusing to adapt. Cunningham said they have come to our country for many reasons, but I suggest they must assimilate, adapt to the culture of the country they wish to live in. No country is going to allow people to come in and not acknowledge its constitution, legal system, and laws. They will not tolerate it. So he,
I don't have a problem with that.
I would have shortened it, but at the end of the day, she's endorsed Reverend Rodney Sadler. Now, part of this bill was for ICE, for the local sheriffs to cooperate with ICE. I don't have a problem with that neither. Folks, I'm trying to think. Some of these illegal immigrants, and they are illegal if they're not here on their visa, or if they overstayed their visa, they're illegal. If I get involved in domestic violence, Troy, any regular citizen in the United States, domestic violence, that's 48 hours lockup.
Correct.
That's the law. So, sheriff in any county is going to tell me you're not willing to hold an illegal immigrant, somebody that you can't determine their identity anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. If you don't want to do that, you don't need to be sheriff. We shouldn't have to have a law for that, especially if they can go out and commit another crime and we don't know if their ID is valid. And I agree with Representative Cunningham on that one. So Josh Stein has intervened and said he can't support her because of those comments.
Right, it's going to be interesting to see. I was talking to a former legislator, and he feels like that she's pretty safe because of the support within her community, because she served her community well, and this particular legislator tends to believe that her constituents are not going to throw her under the bus over that. Well, I don't know what happened.
I'm not in her district, but she's going to get some support from me. I support a lot of candidates that can't do anything for me financially and whatnot. She's going to be one of them. I just don't, she's trying to protect the community. I don't agree with all her speech. To me, I know she had to say a reason why. I would have said some of the things she said, but I can't believe it that they're talking to her this way.
I can, because I think that what they're really coming after her about is the fact that she's a Democrat and she voted with some Republicans on some issues. I think that's what they're really coming at her about. I mean, they're trying to send the same old message that happened here. Kimberly Hardy at Fayetteville State University, PhD over there, with the support of Democrats, was able to oust Elmer Floyd some time back. And, of course, she wasn't going to beat Diane Wheatley. So it was my understanding that the governor said, well, I don't care if we lose that seat to a Republican, I just want to unseat Floyd. And that's exactly what happened, because that was a Democratic seat, and Kimberly Hardy won the primary, went up in the general election against Diane Wheatley, and that has become a Republican seat altogether now. And also with Kirk Deviere, he was state senator, and clearly he was very openly against him, and they ousted him, and they gave us Senator Val Applewhite, which again, you know, we're just throwing people to the curve who are doing things for our community just because their sin, unpardonable sin that is now, is that they voted with the Republicans. And, well, I'm not going to work with Republicans. Well, if you don't work with them, you're not going to get anything done. That's just the state of politics. And if you don't understand that, then you really don't understand politics. So these people that promise you that they're not going to work with any Republican are just promising you they're not going to get anything done. That's essentially what they're doing.
Yeah, but that's how Raleigh is set up. And the Democrats, you're losing registered Democrats in North Carolina as well. That's another issue. So the folks in my crew, the unaffiliated, we have to coalesce with somebody because we can't get our own candidates in there. But, you know, when you're in the House and Senate in North Carolina, you know, nothing wrong with voting with your party. But if it's something that your particular district needs, and you got to make a conscious decision, because you think about Fayetteville State, you know, rest in peace, Governor Jim Hunt. Everybody, when he passed away a couple weeks ago, I seen the accolades across social media, and you know me, I what they say, I had time today. When you call him the education governor, thank him for everything I did. I just wanted, I wasn't rude about it. He didn't do anything for HBCUs. No, you're not going – that narrative, I'm not going to let that be floated out there. He didn't do anything for HBCUs. He had the opportunity. So what happened at Fayetteville State, I was in town a couple weeks ago. And another friend of mine who went to he stays in Chicago, and he's an alumni of Fayetteville State. He was down here a couple weeks ago. He couldn't believe it.
I know.
He said,
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's from you know, my favorite story is, if you ever been in Lilly Gymnasium, my first time was in 1988, and that was their gym, Lilly Gymnasium.
That's true.
I think about some of the African American schools from the 50s gyms. Yeah, you like what?
And that's
and
terrible.
It was terrible. The Dean Dome up there, the Dean Dome, and they talking about getting another facility for North Carolina. But you know, politics in North Carolina, it's all about. We set it up to where our governor really doesn't have any power, especially when his the opposite party controls the House and Senate with a stronghold. The governor of the other party really doesn't have any power. Now I can understand why, you know, governors wants to block what they perceive as bad legislation, but sometimes, you know, it's the reason why that Representative Cunningham voted the way she did.
Well, I mean, understand now, when the Republicans first came into power in 2010 and Pat McCrory was up there, they stripped him of power too. He was a Republican, you know. They're not, you know, it wasn't prejudice here, you know. They just taking stuff from the governor's office. I don't care who's there. That's the way it is.
Because Pat McCrory was, if I'm using the correct term, you correct me. He was, I don't know what they call him, a centrist. I don't know.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, Governor McCrory had a very strong African American following there in Charlotte. People didn't have a problem with him. You know, it's just that now he was a Republican all along, but still, once he got to Raleigh, and then they hung the Republican thing on him. Then they say he's a racist, all those other kind of things. You know how it works. You know, these labels will get you, brother. These labels will get you.
Well, hey Troy, before we wound up, you know, I've been reading the Observer online. Interesting, and me and you talked about it. Folks from these schools, the school consolidation, the firm that they hired. You know, you're going to have some passionate people from a number of the aging schools, whether it be Massey Hill, E. Smith, Beaver Dam. It could be others. It's going to be a number of schools. Folks going to be at these school board meetings because they're going to want to protect their interests, and it's going to be interesting. And if you're a school board member in Cumberland County, remember, you ran to be on that board of education because you said, I can make these tough decisions. And you're not going to make everybody happy, but you have to make decisions that's going to be it's in the best interest for taxpayers. Just not, yeah, families are important. Mothers and fathers and families are important. They want their kids close to their school, but it's about the Joe taxpayer too, because he has to pay property tax to fund these schools. So they got some important decisions. Hopefully they're huddling up, listening to their constituents, but that's what you get paid the big bucks for, superintendent, to make recommendations to your board of education and let them make the final decision.
Well, I think that hopefully all of these sub-communities within Cumberland County realize and recognize that their legacy to their school is understandable why they would want to not lose that. However, they're public schools. And you know, it's just like, hey, look, you know, like you got an alumni association, they come to town, and now I know this to be a fact because the previous superintendent told me that out of his own mouth. I was sitting in his office. He went to E. Smith's Alumni Association, and they met with them about a new school for E. Smith. I don't have a problem with that, but this is what I do have a challenge with. So a lot of people at that meeting, they don't live here. They left here after they got out the 12th grade. Now you asking them about this, and like their opinion matters more than my opinion. When I've been living here since 1977, and I've been paying taxes, and they living somewhere else, they paying taxes. I mean, make it make sense, man. You know, I'm not trying to be mean now, but come on. I mean, that can't be right. I mean, that can't be right.
Voices. Well, both. Okay, one person is paying directly property tax like yourself, and I understand that even though you're not an alumni. But the alumni need to be heard. You know, I say heard. And, you know, they can be heard and whatnot. But at the end of the day, Troy, no matter what you say at alumni, no matter what the person that stays around the corner, the school board members have to look at the budget because their financial officer, Jay Tolan, has said we're losing folks. And it's not just Cumberland County. Folks are leaving public schools for private schools, for home schools, or for whatever reason. They're losing folks, you know, because they have other alternatives. Because, you know, kids are, you know, one thing is, you know, I had to address it with, I'm not going to say what school system it was. I had a distant cousin. He was calling me because he knew I used to be a school resource officer, and say his 7-year-old is getting bullied in the 2nd grade. And I helped him out, told him what he needed to do, and he's thinking about taking him a 3rd job because he's not going to be stressed about his 7-year-old being bullied in a school. And, you know, so he still got to pay his property tax where he stays at, but he's going to have to pay another salary. But he said it's all about his child. Thank God he only has one.
Right. Well,
it's tough.
I'm not saying that, coming back to E. Smith, I'm not saying that the Alumni Association, the National Alumni Association, should not be heard. But I think it shouldn't be exclusive. See, the thing is, this is what I encounter. Maybe other people encounter other things. As soon as you want to have that discussion, some of the E. Smith faithful, where'd you go to school at? Where'd you go to school at? I mean they almost hostile with this. And my thing is that, wait a minute now, I'm a taxpayer and I live here. It's a public school. I have an opinion too. You can't tell me that I got to pay for something and that you can only have an opinion about it. Because if you want to have an exclusive opinion about it and only I got to be an alum in order to talk about it, then I think you need to go make that a private school. So y'all can do whatever y'all want to do with it. That's my take on it. And I think that's with any of these situations, because, you know, we talked about Massey Hill, we talked about all these other ones. At the end of the day, these are public schools. I underline the word public. They're not private institutions. Yeah. So just like there was a deferment to the E.E. Smith folk, I believe that the people at Massey Hill, they got to have their say. If you want to go down to Beaver Dam, the people down there, they got to have their say. But at the end of the day, it's a public school, bro. You see what I'm saying? That's my whole thing is that let's not lose sight of these are public schools, and if we're going to allow a community to make a decision about this solely based on their legacy, their history of what they want to preserve, then that's not being fair to the overall public. Not to me, not from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, if in Charlotte, West Charlotte is right off Beatty Ford, which is up the street from, well, it's a good distance from, not too far from Johnson C. Smith. They were able, their old school, they were able to just build on that same plot. It was set up that way. They had a lot of real estate. So I've been in that new West Charlotte school because you talk about royalty. And then what was the school in Durham?
Hillside.
Hillside, and you talk about legacy. You have them all. You have Carver and Greensboro. You have so many. I love visiting those campuses. I've been on to the campus. I forgot the name in Greensboro just to see it.
Dudley?
Because to me, Dudley, yeah, because it's history. Because I remember Dudley products out of Greensboro. I love visiting those campuses, the West Charlottes, the many that we have throughout North Carolina. Winston-Salem has. I forgot the name of the one in Winston I've seen. But they did relocate that one in Hillside.
Yeah, they did. And but the people in Durham kind of think a little different up there than we do here. They knew that they weren't going to lose their legacy based on real estate. You know what I mean? So, here the argument has been about real estate, which has really stymied, I'm talking about E. Smith now, for the last 20 years. Now, even when you had a majority African-American board, and the chairman at that time was an E. Smith alum, they still didn't get anything done. They still didn't get anything done. So look, y'all pretty bright. You can think a little bit. Why should we be upset with anybody when it was like that? If it's a black-white situation, E. Smith is black. You had a majority African-American Board of Commissioners, and the chair of the Board of Commissioners, E. Smith alum, and they didn't make it a priority, and they didn't make it happen. Something wrong with that picture to me, Dale. Something wrong with that picture.
Well, the downside, construction costs, they're going up. So, But it's going to be interesting. I think right now, it's going to be interesting after this next meeting when they huddle up. But stay tuned. But I appreciate you having me on. What's the weather like down there?
Oh, man, it's going to be nice today. Reverend Carl's going to go home and take off his sweater and get some shorts and get a Dallas Cowboy T-shirt and start running around.
Yeah, my dog is looking at that door.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's
looking at the door, and she's ready to go out, and I think I'm going to do that and then come back and wash my truck.
So Bella is saying, Reverend Carl, the dog's name is Bella. So Bella is saying, look, get up. We got to get out of here.
Hey, Troy, in the morning when I sleep, when I wake up to my right, looking at me straight in the face, like, well, let's do it.
Yeah, I had to curtail that with my dog because, I put down a little thing for him. He's in a chair, put down so you don't get dog hair over everything. I woke up one morning and he was looking at me in my face. I said, no, you got to go, buddy.
Yeah, once she gets so walked, she's good for the rest of the day. She will hound me until I take her for a walk.
Oh, yeah. Like I told you, I don't care. You can have 1,000 acres in the back. They see you going out the front. They want to get out the front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, forget that. I want to go out the front. I see you going out the front. I want to go out the front.
All right. We'll talk.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Sure.
Anyway, but look, these animals that have you going, bro. This rascal, he starts barking around 5:30, sometimes 5 o'clock. Look, let me out, buddy. Let me out. And so I got to get up. I got to let him out. That's at least I know he's still there because he's barking. Because I'm concerned. He's old too. He's going on 16. You got a 70-year-old and a 60-year-old dog. I don't know what age the dog is, but he got to be pretty old at 16. In his 80s. Yeah, so that's right. So he's wondering if I'm gonna come down, and I'm wondering is he still there? But anyway, but they're a lot of fun though. I mean, I just they bring you joy. They do. They bring you joy, and I got some other friends that have some dogs too, and so people that walk their dogs tend to live a little longer because you get a little exercise and all that other stuff, So I appreciate that. But anyway, look, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in with us on today. We'll be back on tomorrow. First 30 minutes of the show, we'll be doing, I guess Jay may be live with me tomorrow morning for the first 30 minutes. And so we're going to be on with Jay and DL talking about a number of subjects. Thank you so much. Hope that you have a great rest of your day. Weather's going to be fantastic. If you got to be inside, I'm sorry. If you have to be outside, then I'm happy for you. I think it's supposed to be up into the mid-60s today, and rain on Saturday, getting a little cooler on Sunday. I don't know what's going on here. We need to flip that thing around. We need some nice weekends so these folks can get out and go to church. But anyway, though, praise be to God. Get out of here, guys. You guys have a great rest of your day.